We're now on Daf Dalet of Beis Hachinami Tni Adam Shmirasa Gufalav. In our Mishnah, we should change the girsa, and it's not Shmirasan Olecha, but rather Shmiras Gufo Olav. He has to watch his own goof. This is what I call the Talmudic schizophrenia, meaning me and my goof are two separate entities. You know, I talk to my goof talks back to me, and I have to watch my goof to make sure it doesn't damage. Split personality. Maskif Laurav Murray, the Ema Mavezemayim. We had two opportunities and two possibilities to interpret Mav as either Adam or Shane. What about a third possibility? Maybe Mav is Adam. It is Mayim. And why would we even entertain that Mav is Mayim? K'diksiv, as the pasuk says in Yeshaya, Perek Samach Daled, Kid Koach Eish Hamasim Mayim Tiva Eish. Mayim extinguishes Eish. And the word for extinguishing is tiva. And therefore tiva would mean mayim. Again, you might have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out the deeper meaning of this Gemara, because l'chora mayim itself is bar, or maybe eish. But what would set up mayim as an independent, brand new category of a mazik, just because you have a pasuk? The Gemara is just arguing from an etymological point of view. What is the word mava used by the Mishnah mean? So the Gemara answers, miksiv mayim nivu, right? If we would have said in the plural mayim nivu, so that would imply that the word nivu refers back to the mayim. However, tiva eish ksiv. First of all, it's in lashon nekeva, tiva, and secondly, it's lashon yachid in the individual. So it's not navu, which would be a perfect match for mayim, which is in the plural. And therefore we assume that the kavanah of this pasuk of tiva eish is to eish. Correct the Gemara, maskif l'rav zvidoi bazoi, is v'yema mavaz eish. Why do you exclude eish? You had two possibilities for mav, and none of them included eish. The chiksiv tiva be'esh hu diksiv, and the word tiva refers to eish. Yeah, but the only problem is that eish is explicitly in the Mishnah. So you can't tell me that mava means eish when the Mishnah mentions hever, which is eish. Ihachi mai mava v'hever. B'chi tema perushi kama faresh. Yeah, but then it's not arba avos; it's only 3 avos. Ihachi arba avos, shlosha avos. B'chi tema. Tana shor de ispe tarte. Maybe the word shor refers to both Shane and Regel. So that gives you 2. And then you have bar, mave, and hever. So you've got another 2 because hever is a pirush on mave. And now we have the magic number 4. Ihachi, frekti gemara. What does it mean in the next part of the Mishnah? Lo zev zeh, sheish b'mei ruach chayim. That the common denominator here between Mav and Shor is that they both are Ruach Chaim. Eish, my Ruach Chaim is Eish, with all the respect, is not an animate object, has no life to it. And therefore cannot be something that has Ruach Chaim. So what does the Mishnah mean when it says Zev is Ruach Chaim? Visu, and furthermore, if you're going to tell me that Mav is Eish, my Kareya Eish, how will we explain the words of the Mishnah Keharei HaEish? If Mav and Heva is one and the same, it's not possible. How can you say that Lo Areya Eish Kareya Eish? So therefore we assume that Mava is not Eish. Tony, now we get to a whole new counting of Avos Nezikim. And we're going to have Rav Oshi and Rav Chia, we'll see. It's going to be Levitik and Shtad. But I just want to point out that we're going to try to work hard to explain what's the fundamental difference between the Mishnah, our Mishnah that has the number 4. What are the methodological underpinnings of counting to the number 4 and not beyond in our Mishnah? And then we have Rav Oshia who expands by another 9, and that gives you 9 and 4 is 13. And what's his definition of an Av Nezikin? Until finally we get to Rabbi Chia, who has Esrim V'Arba of Nezikin. What's his definition of an Av? So now the Brisa of Rav Oshia is going to list 9 Avos Nezikin, and at the end, we have the inclusion of the 4 Avos Nezikin of our Mishnah, so it's 9 plus 4 is 13. So what are the 9? Number 1, Shomer Chinam. Number 2, Shoel. Number 3, Nosei Sachar. Number 4, Nezek. Just one second, Socher. Then we have 5 is Nezek, Sar, Ripui, Sheves, and Boshes. All told we have 9. Vi, Arbab, Demasnisin, which is Shor, Bar, Maver, and Hever. Ha, Tleisa, if we add 9 and 4, we get 13. Now let's talk a little bit about Socher. Socher means he rented an animal, or for that matter, utensil, like we used to rent ice skates, if you can relate to that. And that's called Socher. Now, it's a little bit confusing here because Socher would seem to be identical with Nosei Sachar. Nosei Sachar is a shomer that's getting paid for his shmira, and he's chayev not only in Pshia, but also in Kedeva Aveda. And the same thing is true in Socher, so why list them separately? But basically, what would you say, Rabbosai, is Rabbi Oshi's definition of an Av in Nezikin? It's not a conceptual category. It's really different chiyuvim. So, for example, Chovel B'Chaver has 5 different chiyuvim. He's going to count that as 5 different avos. So again, as we said before, the total number of Rav Oshia's list is 9, and we had 4 from our Mishnah, and we have 13. Our brother Basnisa not Tleisa. Fact the Gemara, Fitana di dan my time alo Tony Hani. Why the Mishnah and our Mishnah get away with 4? Bishlebel Shmuel, if we hold the Mavish Shein, like Shmuel, the Mishnah doesn't mention Odom Amazik at all. So we have a simple answer. Beniske Mama Kamairi, Beniske Gufalo Kamairi. That's Shmuel's Shita. And all of the 9 that are listed here by Rav Oshia are all Niske Gufa. El Rav listening. But Rav identifies Mav as Adam. So we have this K Gufo already in the Mishnah. Why not expand it with the other 9? And the Gemara answers, Tana, our Mishnah is interested in Adam v'chol mili di Adam. Now here again, we have to translate the Gemara literally, but I think we have to understand the Gemara conceptually, not literally. According to Rav, Mav is Adam. We can now understand, according to Rav, why the Mishnah limited the Avos to 4 without expanding them to the other 9 to get up to the number 13. And the answer is because our Mishnah is talking about Mava. And included on the Mava are many different permutations and scenarios that are all just splinters. They are branches of the tree. The tree itself is Odom HaMazik, that's Mava. So all that works out according to Rav. But yet, Rav's argument is very convincing. And all of the above 9 should be collapsed under Adam HaMazik. We already have Adam, and all your 9 additions are all subcategories and permutations and scenarios of Adam HaMazik. And then where it says Trey Gavne Adam, there are 2 fundamentally different categories of Adam HaMazik. There's man injuring another man, and there's man injuring an animal. Tana Adam Azik Adam. The Tana Adam the Azik Shor. Now, it's a little interesting in the Seder of the Gemara, but the last one, Adam Diazik Shor, is really going back on our Mishnah. Adam Diazik Adam would explain the Brisa, and that's why in the case, for example, of Chovel, he pays Nezek Sarash, Ripuy, Shavas, and Boshes. Ihachi Frek the Gemara, Shor Nami, Listening Trey Gavli the Shor, Listening Shor Diazik Shor, Listening Shor Diazik Adam. You're telling me that with regard to Adam Amazik, you want to separate between Adam the Azik Adam and Adam the Azik Shor. Well, you should be doing the same thing in Keren. Shor the Azik Shor, Shor the Azik Adam. So I want to take a break for a moment just to think about this Gemara's kasha. It seems to me that there's a very simple answer to the Gemara's kasha. When a shor attacks a human being, that takes chutzpah. You know, a man is mazik another man, he's mazik an animal, a kalim, whatever it is. That's understandable. But that a shor should start off with a human being, who does he think he is? Hi, man. Bishlema Adam Diazik Shor. I could differentiate between Adam when he was mazik and Adam, or Adam mazik a shor, nezek hu mishalim. He doesn't pay tzar ripuy shevas and poshes. Whereas Adam, the azik Adam mishalim arba dvarim, and that's tzar ripuy shevas and poshes. So we don't have two equal chiyuvim when we compare Adam the azik shor and Adam the azik Adam. El shor, if a shor is going out to be mazik, what difference does it make whether he's mazik another shor or he's mazik an ish? Mali shor diazik shor, mali dazik shor diazik adam. Idi ve'idi nezek hu d'mishali. So the chiddush here is that even though in Adam, you would differentiate whether the victim of the Adam is a shor or an Adam, but in case of shor, we don't differentiate between the victim who's an Adam and the victim who's a shor. And in both cases, the owner has to pay for damages. Frek the Gemara of Hashem Rechinam V'Shol V'Nosei Sok V'Sok the Adam V'Asik Shor Hu Uktani. You're saying that there's no need and justification for Adam. I'm sorry, for sure the Azik Adam. But yet, if somebody was given a shor for Shmira, whether it be Shom Rechidim Shol or Shol, Nosischar, or Solcher, it's a case of Adam the Azik Shor, which you said was left out of our Mishnah because it makes no difference whether he attacked a human being or he attacked a shor. Uktani. And yet Rav Hoshea has 5 categories of shomrim, and that jacks up the number of the zikin. And you're telling me now that Adam the Azik Shor is the same as Adam the Azik Adam. So why did the Mishnah mention all these cases? Who could Tani? And Gemara says Tana Zeka do Yadayim, but Tana Zeka do Mimela. There's a fundamental difference between a direct damage and an indirect damage. Indirect damage is called Hezeka Dimimela. And that's the case of Arba Shomrim. And the chiyuv of the shomer to pay damages is because the hezek was not guarded properly. So we need Adam the Azik Shorg Ba'ofen Yashir with his might, and we need the Shomrim in order to indicate that there's also Nizke Adam B'Mamon, where he did not do the Hezek directly. Tani Rab Chia asks from the Arba of his Nizike. We have 24. So how much is he jacking up? We had 4, and then we jacked it up to what was it? 13, am I right? Now we're jumping it up from 13 to 24 of his Nizike. And what are we adding? Tashlume Kefel. Right, a Ganav has to pay Pishnayim. So again, he's not talking about Ganav, he's talking about Tashlume Kefel. Then he's got Tashlume Arba V'Chamisha, where you steal a shore and you shecht it. The Ganav only pays Keren, so he's not included on Tashlume Kefel. No. My mistake. A Gazlan doesn't pay Kefel. The Ganav pays Kefel, but let's say the Edim did not testify, but rather he was Modeh conceded with a confession, then Modeh B'Knas is pot. Gazlan. Veha Edim Zomim. Okay, we know, I'm not even going to bother going through the whole scenario. We know what Edim Zom is, the second pair of Edim, Amazim the first, Imano Yisim. And Vasisim Lo Kasher Zom. Ve'ones, right, the Torah says you have to pay Chamishim Kesef. He was Ma'anes and Arab Basula. Hamafat and Arab Basula. He also pays Chamishim Kesef. Right, so the Gemara is going to have to ask why we need both Ones and Mafata. Next, Vamafater and Umotzi Shema. So he says about this Isha that she was not a Basula, she was married B'cheskes Basula, and he doesn't find Basula. So he pays Meya Kesef, am I right? Let's see if he quotes it. He onshore so Meya Kesef. V'nosna lavianar. Ki hotzi Shema al Basulas Yisrael. Hametame, person's metame truma. Like let's say he takes a sheretz and he throws it into the truma. So now the truma is asur b'achila. So he was mafsid the he was mafsid the truma. Truma sreifa truma tmeil sreifa. Damedamea. So he takes truma and he mixes it with chulin, and the chulin now become asa because we don't know where the chulin is. We can't identify. You could sell it to a kohen bezol in a cheap price. Right? He does libations for an avodah zarah. Now the yain becomes also bano. And V'hani Tleisar, now we had the 13 Ovos of Rav Oshia, Ha'es from the Arab, we have 24. Why did he leave out the additional? How many were there? Just let's get the number. We have an additional 11, right? Because we have 11 and 4 is 16. Plus 9, just 1 second. $11 and 4. It's 15, sorry. My mistake. 15 plus 9 is 24. So why didn't Rav Oshia add to his list these 11? I'm not sure that they're all knas. That's just Goslings. Yeah, that's the most cash. Expecting more Ganav a Goslin, the Mamonu listening. Why doesn't Rav Oshia have at least Ganav a Goslin? That's not knas. Or Ketanile. Rav Oshia says, you know what? I already have Ganav in the reckoning. How? Shomachinav Shoel. And now we have a principle called Tony Tainis Ganav Bipikadon. And if he Tainis a Tainis P'tur that it was stolen, and then we find out that he stole it, then he has to pay. Kefa. So if his original Tainis P'tur was Ganov, then he pays Kefa. If his original Tainis P'tur was Gazlan, then he only pays Keren. Fact the Gemara of Rab Chia Nami. Hatani le Shomachina Vashoel. Once we established, according to Rav Oshia, that Ganov and Gazlan are included under Shomachina Vashoel, so why do you count them as separate others, Rabbi Chia? And the Gemara answers, Tani Maman de Asi Liyade Betero, Tani Maman de Asi Liyade Bisura. So again, a Shomer receives the Chayfetz from the Bailim, and that's called Be Hetero. So that's Shomer. But Ganav Gazlan is Asi Liyade Bisura. So we'll just add a little bit on Taf Hey. Eidim Zomim Dimamonu listening. Why doesn't Rav Oshia include Eidim Zomimim? Savalok Rabbi Kiva Dioma Ein Mishal Malpi Atzman that Eidim Zomim is a knas, and therefore, according to Rav Oshia, v'knasa lo kamayri. Affecting Mari Savallah Kirabi Akiva. Listen, Listen, Shor the Azik Shor. Listen, Shor the Azik Adam. Tisnan Rabbi Kiva Omer Af Tam Shechovel the Adam. Mishalim b'Mosar Nezik Shol. All right, this will pick up tomorrow. So tomorrow is Wednesday? Could that be? No, tomorrow is Tuesday. Yeah, tomorrow we said we'll get together later on in the day, which gives me more time to prepare. Okay, then. Thank you very much. I'm wishing you a very good day.